Mirror, make me pretty.
If beauty is a conspiracy, what would you choose to believe? If becoming perfect means losing yourself, would you still want to? I used to think that getting pretty was the only way to happiness. I thought that once I turned 16, everything would change. But they didn't tell me that it wasn't just my face that would change. I'm telling centuries ago, humanity exhausted Earth's natural resources and the world descended into chaos and war. Scientists created genetically engineered orchids as a new energy source, but they couldn't stop humans from fighting over their differences. So the operation was born. Every 16-year-old undergoes surgery to become a perfect pretty and lives in a glittering city. Those of us who haven't had the operation yet are called uglies and live in dormitories in Uglyville. I can't wait to be beautiful. Every day I use the app on my mirror to look at my transformed self over and over again. A high nose bridge, bright eyes, that's the look I've always dreamed of. My best friend Paris and I have called each other Nose and Squint since we were kids. It's our special nickname. Sometimes we'd sneak out after curfew and go to the bridge. We'd put on our special glasses and watch the prettiest parties in the city. The flashing lights, the fancy clothes, it made me excited for the future. Paris is older than me. Tomorrow she'll turn 16. That night, we carved matching scars into our hands. We promised that even if we became pretties, we'd never let the doctors erase them. The blade stung as it cut into my skin, but I felt a twinge of doubt. Would we still recognize each other if we were pretties? But then I thought about the future, and the doubt faded away. The next day at the rally, I heard the legend of Smoke, a secret settlement led by David, where many people fled the city and hid. But most people didn't believe it. After all, who would give up the opportunity to become a beauty? The holographic image of Governor Cabo appeared, emphasizing the importance of beauty and perfection. At that moment, I was even more convinced that becoming a beauty was my only way out. When it was the turn of the 16-year-old to approach, I said goodbye to Perez and agreed to meet on the bridge in a month. Watching his back as he walked towards the team, I suddenly had a strange feeling, as if some invisible wall was rising between us.
The bridge. 1 month. Don't be late, okay?
Every time the interface ringtone rang, my heart tightened. Was it him? No, just a class notice. After a month, I couldn't wait any longer. I used the ring to break the window lock, left the ring with a tracker, and sneaked out. I waited on the bridge for a long time, but Paris didn't show up. As night fell, fear slowly crept over me. Had something happened to him? Or didn't he want to see me? Worry drove me to climb the bridge and sneak into the city. Hiding behind the plants, I picked up a mask that projected a gorgeous dress on me so that I could blend into the party. At that moment, I was amazed by the decorations and atmosphere of the party, but I couldn't help looking for that familiar figure in the crowd. When I finally saw Paris, he was surrounded by a group of beauties, laughing heartily with bright eyes, a brilliance I had never seen before. But when I called out Nose, there was only confusion in his eyes as he turned his head. I took off my mask and asked him why he didn't show up for our appointment. He said life was different now and he felt like he could never understand me again. When I saw the scar on his hand disappear, my heart was stabbed by something. The friend who once promised to be with me forever was really gone. The discovery of the security system forced me to flee. I stole a bouncing jacket and jumped off the balcony. My heart raced as I fell. Beyond fear, I felt lost. If beauty meant forgetting the past, was this perfection really what I wanted? The jacket slowed my fall, and when I landed safely, I looked at the city lights and felt like a stranger for the first time. Running away from the city, I kicked a rock in the water and attracted a drone. Just then, Shay appeared. She took me on her hoverboard and we made crazy turns in the forest to shake off the pursuers. To thank her, I sneaked into the kitchen and stole some snacks. We shared our stories and I found out that we had both been left behind by our friends. It felt really bad. I thought I had found another friend to be beautiful with. But Shay said, "Why do we have to be beautiful?" This sentence was like a thorn that pierced my long, established perception. Once upon a time, I regarded becoming beautiful as my faith. But now, looking at Shay's free smile, a voice in my heart quietly asks, if I don't become beautiful, will it really be as terrible as Cabo said? The next day, Shay taught me to skateboard, but I kept falling off. At school, I saw the girls return the book to Shay, discussing whether the smoke really existed. I borrowed the book, but I was angry because Shay had told people about us. I was worried that I would be punished and lose my chance of surgery, but Shay comforted me, saying that the system wanted everyone to be beautiful. The days passed in reading and skateboarding. I showed Shay the way I designed myself to look beautiful, but she didn't even have an account and had no interest in surgery. Finally, I learned to skate, and Shay and I flew down the crazy ramps. The feeling of freedom made me forget my desire for beauty for a while. Suddenly, Shay mentioned the smoke and took me to the edge of the forest. We took off our rings and rode our hoverboards across the river to the ruins of the abandoned city. She showed me ancient things, roller coasters, abandoned buildings, and then told me that the smoke was real, that David was coming soon, and that she was leaving tonight and wanted me to come with her. I refused. I didn't want freedom. I just wanted to be beautiful. But Shay's words echoed in my ear. Do you really think you'll be happy when you're beautiful? Is Paris happy? And the determination in Shay's eyes slowly ate away at my belief in the beautiful world. I traced the scar on my wrist. It had scabbed over, but it would eventually heal. If becoming beautiful meant forgetting this scar, forgetting Paris, and forgetting who I was now, would I still be me? On my birthday, I went to the clinic full of joy, only to be told that everyone else had gone in and I was the only one not called. The guard took me to see Dr. Carbo, who told me that Shay was missing and suspected that I knew where she was. I denied it, but she watched my vital signs on the screen and concluded that I was lying. She warned me that David had brainwashed Shay and forced people to stay in the smoke. I still insisted that I didn't know, and she canceled my surgery and sent me back to my dorm. At that moment, fear and anger intertwined. I had always followed the rules, so why was this happening to me? Perez appeared at the window and urged me to tell Cabot the truth so we could be reunited. There was something in his eyes that I couldn't read, something like pity or detachment. I looked at his smooth wrist and suddenly realized that he was now part of the system, and I might soon be its enemy. When Cabo told me that David was developing weapons to attack the city and that I needed to sneak into the smoke, I almost immediately agreed. I told myself that it was for beauty and to return to my normal life. But when she put the necklace on me and told me to activate it when I found the weapon, my finger paused on the necklace for a moment. What if the smoke was not an enemy, but another way of life, as Shay had said? The contradiction grew stronger as I made my way towards the smoke. Zooming on my hoverboard along the old roller coaster tracks, I was both terrified of being spotted by the cabal and in awe of the natural beauty around me. I fell into traps and was blocked by force fields. I survived in the wild along the tracks, and for the first time, I tasted wild fruits I picked myself. The sweet and sour taste was more satisfying than any fancy dessert in the city, but every time, Cabal's words would ring in my ears. They're dangerous defectors. Remember your mission. The flower fields caught fire, and David saved me. He scanned my things and removed the tracker from my skateboard, but he didn't find the necklace. Looking at his focused expression, I suddenly thought that he was nothing like the brainwasher Cabot had described. When he told me that the orchids were toxic and that the government was lying, I instinctively retorted, "That's impossible. The orchids are clean energy. They're the scientists' solution to save the world." But as soon as I said it, I remembered the descriptions in the book about the destruction of nature and what Shay had said, and my voice faded. When I met Shay at the smoke outpost, her happiness was so real, completely different from Pears' empty smile after her transformation. Chloe suspected me, but Shay defended me, and David believed me. The feeling of being trusted made my chest burn, but at the same time, the weight of the necklace reminded me that I was here on a mission. When Shay asked about the necklace, I lied and said it was from Perez, unable to look her in the eye. On the helicopter, David showed me the desert caused by the orchid. The yellowed land and the distorted plants were completely different from the beautiful energy fields shown by Cabot. Shay burned the orchid with a flamethrower. I instinctively reached out to stop it, but slowly put my hand down. Tears blurred my vision. I didn't know who to believe or what to do. Everything I once believed in was falling apart, and my new understanding was too fragile to make me feel at ease. We talked a lot on the way back, and he told me he had never seen a city because he was born and raised in the forest. I could hear his pride, and I felt a kind of envy I couldn't name. I knew almost nothing about my parents. While I was still in my feelings, he suddenly gave me a pair of gloves. Then Shay saw it and said coldly that everything here had a meaning, and the gloves David made with his own hands represented his feelings. She told me to stop pretending and stop delaying and make a choice. I told myself to be careful, but the next time I walked with David, I couldn't help asking him, "Is there really a weapon that can destroy an entire city?" He glanced at me and led me to an old house outside the camp. There I met his parents, Az and Maddie, two defectors who used to be plastic surgeons. They revealed the truth to me. The so-called pretties was actually a manipulation. Not only the face, but also the brain was modified to become dull, obedient, and happy. The next day, the city's drones came, and the gunfire broke the silence. We ran, fought back, set traps, but the scouts were too fast, too strong, and one by one we were captured. David and I infiltrated the holding area and saw Paris. He was no longer the boy I knew. He was a scout, empty and dangerous. Worse, Az and Maddie were captured too. Cable demanded to know where David was, and when they refused to answer, she ordered Paris to kill Az. We couldn't stop it. Before I could recover from the shock, she announced that I'd been her spy all along. The air froze. Everyone stared at me like I was a traitor, but Maddie slipped the antidote into David's pocket when no one was looking. The situation escalated. Cable was going to take everyone in for surgery. I set fire to the supply shed. Amid the flames, explosions, and screams, when David was getting ready to rescue everyone, I approached him and almost got cut by his knife. He said he didn't trust me anymore. God, he was right. I didn't deserve it, but I pleaded with him. I knew the city. I could help. So we went back to the city and rallied the students to create a distraction. Skateboards, sparks, and slogans exploded in the air. David and I took the opportunity to sneak into the clinic and fight our way through. We finally found the cells and freed everyone, only to discover that Shay had been turned into a pretty. She smiled and said she liked how things were. I was so heartbroken I could hardly breathe, but all I could do was apologize. Cable arrives with Paris and forces us into the operating room. Then Smoke's helicopter arrives and we escape in the chaos. We take Shay to the roof where Paris appears. I tried to wake him up, calling out our secret nickname and reminding him of the scar on his face, which was our shared memory. When he touched my face, I almost thought we were back in the past. But David misunderstood. After a fierce battle, I rushed up and knocked Paris away. He fell off the cliff and called out my nickname before he left. We fled to an abandoned city, and Maddie finally completed the antidote. But there might be side effects, and Shay refused to try it. I knew she couldn't make the decision, and I couldn't force anyone. So I decided to try it myself. Return to the city, let them operate on me, and then take the antidote. If I wake up, I'll send a signal. This is my atonement and my battle. I didn't resist when they took me away, because I knew that I had finally made a choice. A choice that was truly my own, sober, and free. Perhaps true growth is learning to find your own way in imperfection, even if that way is full of struggle and pain. This is my story, a journey of self-discovery and truth-seeking.